The first question is from Hitesh Gangwal, and he says that our business is getting leads, but we are failing to convert them due to competitors' lower prices. So, how can we convert these leads into sales? Hitesh, you have to think differently. Competition on pricing alone is not a sustainable strategy. You anyways have two choices with you. Uh, you either compete with your competition on pricing, that is one way to go. But if you do not want to compete in pricing, then you have to compete on value. Okay. uh, but step back and think about the reasons for your challenge that you're facing right now. There could be various reasons. Number one, maybe you're not able to delineate the value of your product or the features of your products or the reason of why your product is high priced or expensive than the competition to your customers or to your prospects. That is number one. Number two, maybe you're targeting the wrong set of customers who do not value the the components or the value of your product, but they rather going for the pricing. So maybe your targeting set is not correct. Third, again, the components or the features that make your product more expensive, they might not be relevant for your audience set. They might not be a priority for your audience set at this point in time. So there could be these three broad reasons why your competitor is able to sell at a lesser price and not you. You need to also set a realistic benchmark. Okay, whenever you are selling at a price point which is higher than an average MOP, then you should not look at volumes of sales. Then you should look at a very plausible uh, target or a benchmark for you in terms of what volumes do you want to acquire at that price set. Okay, second, very important is your marketing communication, right? I am sure today your marketing communication, your marketing strategy, your emails, your landing pages, your ads, everything would be very similar to your competitors, right? And you need to deviate from there. Your competition is seeking volume, you are seeking value. So you cannot have the same strategy, the same or a similar communication for your prospects. You need to demonstrate the value of your product or your service, which means that the communication and the process of engaging your audience set should also be such that only those people who prefer value would remain with you through the journey, and rest of them will leak out from your funnel of communication journey. And in the end, you get leads which are much more qualified and can convert much more than your average set of leads that you have been getting so far. So I hope I have answered your question there. I have another similar question uh, from Anuj, who says that I am a small brand and compete with various large brands in my market, but my product, though it has unique features and is also cheaper, still does not sell enough. How can I generate quick demand? So great. So, in the earlier question, we saw a situation where the brand or the product was expensive, and here we see that there is a brand which is slightly cheaper uh, than the competition, and both of them are facing some challenges of sales. Okay, so in this specific case, uh, see, we need to understand that your buyer is getting a lot of communication from you, from your competition, right? In terms of sales pitches, brochures, emails, about why your product is better, why your product has more ROI because it's cheaper and has more feature, etc., etc. But the more you add to this communication volume, the more you add to the clutter, right? So you will be lost in the clutter. That is number one. Number two, Your competition brands, which you say are larger brands, they can afford to invest more in advertising. They can afford to invest more in getting a larger number of salespeople or a better quality uh, sales profile. Third, they have an equity which you don't have, right? So on all these three fronts, you are combating the larger brands in the market, and there are very low chances of you winning the game if you play it their way, right? So given this situation, you need to do two three things, and I think this you know all brands who are in these situations need to go through these two or three things, or processes. Number one is you need to search for a niche for yourself. Okay, you cannot play the entire market. You cannot compete with everyone in the market in your category. You need to look at a niche which is good enough for you but small for your competitors. So, your competition, which is a set of large players, will not look at these small niches, but for you, it can be a great entry point into your prospect base. Okay, think of it as an example. If there is uh, an HR organization and they are looking at recruiting and searching for the right profile of candidates, their first choice is normally Naukri.com. Okay, and Naukri has a huge equity. It has built up a huge trust. It has demonstrated success for this organization earlier as well. Now, for a LinkedIn.com to come here and compete with Naukri is not going to be easy for all the reasons, obvious reasons. So, LinkedIn has to look at certain niche, right? And those niche could be, for instance, that niche could be that, okay, why not let LinkedIn set up a corporate wall or a corporate social network for that organization where people can collaborate. So LinkedIn gets entry into the HR organization within the corporate. The other could be that LinkedIn says that, okay, why not I set up a customized learning channel for you, uh, where I'll curate the specific training sessions and workshops that I always already have on LinkedIn for the employees. So these are ways in which LinkedIn can get entry. These are not the niches which Naukri is looking at or competing in. So it's easier for LinkedIn to enter. Once it enters the corporate, then it's easy for LinkedIn to tell the HR organization that why don't you try a recruitment service also. It's algorithm driven. It's much more real time and updated, and there are various features in this which will make the recruitment and the search much more easier, much better user experience, and so on. Right? It's just a click of a button, and maybe it's a free trial for you. Try it out. So that's how brands can make a backdoor entry or a niche entry and then kind of cannibalize on their competition's uh, scope and then wipe them out. That could be one way in which you can also enter. Second is that you need to create conversation opportunities in this sector or in this niche. You are facing a challenge of lower equity, okay, and you can compensate for this low equity by investing in opportunities to converse with your buyers on knowledge front. Find out what are the challenges in this niche, what are the problems and pain points in this niche, how can you help your target prospect grow this niche, grow, get more revenues out of this niche, right? And create a lot of knowledge sessions. It could be webinars, it could be specific research that you do for that sector or that niche, right? Ideations that you can share with your prospects. Simulation opportunities where people can see, okay, if I adopt this, what happens. So multiple such things that you need to invest into once you make an entry through niche. Third is invest in profiling your audience set. Okay, invest in market research, invest in digital market research. to find out the ownership pattern of your prospects, the aging of the ownership of the prospects, right? And then selectively target them basis the insights that you get. Okay. Now, when you do a research, you would know what is the aging of products that they are, selling or using or buying, whatever, where you compete in, and you can essentially draft your communication around those specific loopholes that you find out through research. So that makes a better impact than just broadcasting your message or spray and pray approach. I hope I answered your question here as well. Third question is by Kamal. So Kamal says that I am writing B2B content for many years, but not much benefit has come my way. How to benefit from B2B content marketing, how to do it the right way. Okay, great. So while I think we will do a content marketing webinar, which will discuss these pointers in detail, but at the outset, I will say that create rational expectations rather, and choose the right metrics for your content. Okay, your content has to resonate with not just the audience, but the audience stages and the experience associated with those stages. So, in our last webinar, the transformation of marketing, we shared with you a handout where we illustrated the key stages of a buyer and the experiences associated with those stages in the journey. So, your content has to connect with those stages, those experiences, and uh, the buyer itself, the profile of the buyer itself, right? Second, you need to demarcate this into pre-buying and post-buying. Okay, so pre-buying content is something different than post-buying content. Your content has to resonate across the spectrum. Okay, a lot of times we just keep writing content, but we don't understand this content is going to appeal to which segment of the audience, which stage in the journey, and what experience will it reflect onto, and so on, and whether it's pre-buying or post-buying, right? Part of the entire journey. So when you write content, this is very very important that you enumerate what and why I am doing that, and then create the right expectations and metrics for that. The other point that I want to share is that you should invest in high quality content. Okay, now this might look like a generic comment. High quality, everyone says high quality, but when I say high quality, it doesn't mean that if you're shooting a webinar like we do, and you have to have expensive hardware, expensive cameras and lighting. No, you don't need to have that. But if your content is great, if your content is making people think and act, then that's a great content that you are creating. So invest in high quality uh, content creation. Don't worry about the production quality. You need to involve experts, need to involve influencers if need be to create that high quality content. Uh, and you don't have to look far. Within your organization, you will have many people who can be experts in small areas, right? So when you are creating a content, use their expertise, uh, and involve them, and this will also showcase your organization's intellectual infrastructure to people, and make your content a much better quality content as well, right? Stop creating for search engines and stop creating content for the sake of it. Just because you have a calendar and you have to create content from Monday to Friday, that's not the reason why we should create content, right? So great. So I think I have answered your question here, and we're going to uh, uh, look deeper into it in one of our upcoming webinars also on content marketing. So we have, I think, time for one last question, which is by Vijoy about what is thought leadership, and I can answer it very quickly and very succinctly. Is that if you are able to provide deep insights into your area of expertise or into an area of the buyer's concern or pain point, or in a specific category or industry segment or a challenge, then that's considered thought leadership. Your ability to give deep insights, right, or share deep insights around that specific challenging area is thought leadership, right? And it's not easy to create thought leadership. It's not easy to create thought leadership content because it involves a lot of hard work, a lot of research, a lot of assimilation of content, and then producing it for people where people find value out of it. Okay, if that content is able to inspire people, then that's thought leading content. So I would say in today's era, in the digital era, it's important for all of us to again collaborate with influencers, experts, various domains, and then create a thought leading content which is much more meaningful, which has a variety of perspectives into it. Okay, but thought leading content is not about the product. It's about a larger picture, a larger base, which could be a larger industry. It could be the specific challenges which surround that industry. So we need to invest in research and collaboration to create thought leadership content, and it's not the CEO's job to create that or to do that. As I said, everyone in an organization is in a position to create some level of thought leadership content, right? So that assimilation and collaboration is important today. So with that, we conclude this session of the transformation of B2B marketing webinar and the questions that we got today. Thank you very much.